Welcome. Can you hear me okay? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Sound is good. Okay. I'm also watching myself live on my computer, and I see that it's lagging a little. So we'll see how it works together. Okay. It's almost 9, so we will just give it another minute or so. I've got my coffee. We'll see if it makes me a little anxious. I've got my Chitta essential oil, which is for the mind, for the chatter of the mind, and my Unwind relaxing blend. This is my favorite. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you. This is interesting to see my movements kind of a little bit after I say them. It's interesting. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started, and if people jump on a little bit later, that's fine. So this is my first ever live yoga. So I wanted to make it special. I'm going to go over some poses that there's a lot of controversy about them, like how to do them right. And they also almost sometimes make you feel incompetent if you're not doing them right. So I actually want to bring those up and just share with you how to do them correctly and safest for your body. And then we're going to do a small meditation at the end of our asana practice. Okay, so we'll begin. Go ahead, close your eyes, place your palms on your legs. We'll begin seated, just taking some cleansing breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Now begin to just observe how you feel. The sensations in your body. Observe your natural breath, the length. Observe how it feels when you inhale and exhale. Is it moist, or do you feel like you have a dry breath? Bring your left hand over your heart and your right hand over top of your left hand. Bring your attention to the beat of your heart. Can you feel the pulse? Bring your palms to touch at heart center. Begin to rub them, building up some heat between them. And bring them to cover your eyes. Do you feel the sensation that's traveling from your hands into your eyes? We'll just leave them here while we let the sensation dissipate. When the sensation is gone, go ahead and bring your palms back down to your legs and begin to blink open your eyes, letting the room come back into your sight. Something that my yoga teacher shared with me, and it's her quote, is range is of the ego, form is of the soul. After practicing yoga for 8 years, I always thought like maybe I should be like more flexible, or maybe I should, be able to hyperextend my joints by now or something. And it's actually not like that. All of our bodies are anatomically different. So something that maybe someone that just started yoga 2 months ago, maybe they're going to be more flexible or be able to hyperextend in a way that someone who has practiced for 10 years. So a couple poses, or there's actually a few poses that I wanted to talk about today. If you guys have any questions, place them in the chat. I've got my computer here so I can read them. Okay, so one pose that has always I always thought I was doing it wrong, but I just wanted to listen to my body, so I just kind of did what felt right. And after all these years, I finally realized that I was actually doing it right. So pigeon pose. There's a lot of ways to do pigeon. You can do it sitting like this. You can do it standing like this. But the one that I want to talk about is actually when you're laying on it, when you have gravity on your knee. So there's this little bone right here. You guys can feel it in your leg. This bone should always be pointing away from you. So in pigeon, you really should be feeling the external rotation of your hips. Your knee should never be rotating internally or externally. The knee is only good for flexion and extension. This is all you ever want it to do. So if you, like me, are not super flexible in the hip area, maybe there's trauma to your fascia, to your psoas, you don't want to make up for it by rotating your knee, which is what a lot of people do like to do. So I wanted to teach you safely how to keep your knees safe and in line, and also just to reassure you that you can do this posture and not feel like incompetent, like I did for a lot of years. So from a plank pose, you'll bring your knee in, and you'll want to turn your leg as much as you can. When you turn it, you're actually going to be externally rotating at your hip, and then you'll place your knee down. Your toes should be pointing, not flexed, like a lot of teachers like to teach that. They should be pointing. And then you can always use like a block underneath of your hip here or even here. It's really up to you. But you do want your hips to be even. So the blocks are really great prop to use just to kind of keep your hips from going like too deep. If you are going to be in this pose for a long time, you don't want to go to the extreme of it. Okay. So that's the first posture that I wanted to everyone to think about. A lot of teachers like to teach it where it's like your shin is parallel to the front of the mat, and it's like if you have really tight hips, your knee's going to have to do a lot of rotating, which you don't want it to do. So on the same topic of the knee, another posture that is taught, a lot of yogis think it's like, when you get to when you're advanced enough, you can do this pose. It's actually pretty anatomically, dubious is the correct term I'm looking for. So lotus pose. When you put this leg over here and then you want to bring this leg over top. I'm not even going to try doing it. It looks great, but there's actually two things. So along with the knee, if you do have the flexibility in your hips, by all means, and you feel comfortable in that pose, go for it. I'm not saying don't ever do it. I'm just saying that unless you have the flexibility in your hips, don't do it, because you could be damaging your knees, you could be damaging your ankles. So that's one pose I personally just leave out of my practice. And then another one on the topic of the knee is frog pose. So frog pose is where you do this external rotation, and then it's supposed to be mostly in your hips, but obviously if you don't have the flexibility in your hips, you're going to make up for it in your knees and in your ankles. So it's kind of where you're like this. So if you notice, just pay attention to your hips. If your hips don't have the ability to open up that much, then don't push yourself. There's a lot of other things you can do that give you the same benefit without hurting your knees. Okay. So another pose that I want to talk about is Warrior One. So Warrior One is traditionally taught with this 45 degree in your back foot and a bend in your right, and you should be having heel to arch alignment. From here to here, it should be a straight line, which is great. I can do it. It doesn't feel bad in my body, but I know that if I wanted to do a side bend, or even if I wanted to go forward, I might end up pulling one of my hips back just to keep up my balance. So I want to invite you to think of it in a new way, where you could still do Warrior One, but just put your hips or your feet about hip width apart instead of them having a heel to arch alignment. Now they're just about hip width. Your back leg's still about 45 degrees. Your front leg is still bent, but now you have this way you can even go clasp your arms behind your back and fold over, keeping your hips aligned. And being able to also have balance and stability. Warrior One is taught a lot in Ashtanga yoga, which I actually found out recently is it was taught to like 11-year-old males. And so, males have very stable pelvises, and they're also very thin. They don't really have much mobility. They're more stable, whereas women have very mobile hips and not as stable for childbirth and things alike. Okay. Next two that I wanted to talk about, plow and shoulder stand. So plow is where you bring your feet overhead like this, straighten out your legs. And shoulder stand's just the same posture, but with your feet in the air. I love these poses. They feel amazing. But I have been practicing it for 7 years, laying on my cervical spine, my neck. So our cervical spine is super fragile. Like a lot of people get a lot of, they like slip discs there all the time. So I just invite you to just be mindful of your cervical spine if you're ever practicing these poses. Put a blanket under your shoulders so that your head can go off of the blanket. So your neck is on this soft space here, and your shoulders are as well. So you're keeping your the spine between your shoulders and your cervical spine on the back of your neck really safe. Also, you can modify shoulder stand by using a block. So you can actually just place this, my little mic's out in the way, but you can place this underneath your hips with your feet up like this. So actually you're not really bearing weight in your cervical spine. Okay. 2 more postures. And also 2 of my favorite. Okay, so a forward fold. I was always taught, you want to keep your legs straight and try to just fold over as much as you can. I just want to invite you to actually think of it as like keeping your spine as straight as possible. So when you're doing a forward fold, bending your knees so you have a longer spine. It'll protect your lower back. It'll also protect the back of your legs because in these poses you can go a little too deep and damage the ligaments in the back of your legs. So I just invite you every time you want to straighten your legs to come up to a flat back, place your hands on your shins or your hands on a blocks, and find the length in the back of your spine. Okay, so last pose is downward facing dog. So down dog is it's a really challenging posture, believe it or not. And it's, everyone always thinks you just want to have the perfect V. Well, remember to what my teacher said is range is of the ego, form is of the soul. So we actually want to have a straight spine. So most times people want to just do this and then they're almost I feel like most people are almost like this, where they have a rounded back, just because they want to have their feet all the way on the floor. But I invite you to lift your feet up, bend your knees, push back as much as you can. Push into all 10 fingers, all 10 knuckles, so that you aren't bearing all of your weight on your wrists. And then when you have a straight spine and you feel confident here, you can begin to straighten out one leg at a time. Okay. So those are all the postures that I wanted to talk about today. But I did have one of you guys reach out and ask about how to avoid wrist pain if you have pain in your wrist. And I'm actually really glad that you brought this up because if I do too many chaturangas or I'm not being mindful of how I bear the weight on my hands, then my wrists also start to hurt. So there's a few modifications for how to bear weight on your wrists. And then sometimes if it really hurts, it's just better to just not bear any weight. Like even with the modifications, let your wrists heal and then you can try again. Okay, so some for some modification, there's a yoga wedge, which I actually don't have, but it basically starts about this high and it wedges down so that your hands are kind of at an angle like this. So you don't have as much of a flexion in your wrist. So you can get some of those, but if you don't have those, you could use yoga jellies or something similar. This is actually a knee pad, but it'd be perfect where I can place my hand on it. So it just lifts my wrist up a little bit higher than my hands or my fingers. And then the one that I actually like the most, yoga blocks. I mean, if you practice yoga, you probably have a pair. If not, I do recommend getting them. They're really good to have. But yoga blocks, if you're going to do down dog, for example, you actually have more weight in your feet now and not in your wrists. So you can put your yoga blocks at any height, really, to do this. So do you guys have any questions about weight on wrists or any of the postures that I went over? I'll just give it a minute because it is a little bit slower than real time for me. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, we'll go ahead and move into our asana practice. So I'm going to spray a little bit of water on my mat because my mat actually, it's a really soft fabric mat. The non-slip activates when I put water on it or sweat, which I don't really sweat that much. So we will settle for water. No questions. Awesome. Okay, so we will begin in downward facing dog. Feel free to modify down dog. I mean, you can leave your blocks there the whole time if you want to. Okay, so coming into downward facing dog, we'll begin with a deep bend in our knees, lengthen the back of the spine, pushing into all 10 knuckles and fingers. On your next inhale, you can begin to straighten out one leg at a time. I have my notes so that I can make sure I get the sequence out that I wanted. On your next inhale, step to the front of the mat. Hands to your shins, flat back. Inhale. Exhale, bend your knees, fold. Inhale, hands to shins, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hands to shins, flat back. Exhale, fold. And 2 more times on your own. On your next inhale, gently roll to stand, one vertebrae at a time. Bringing your head up last, shoulders back. Bring your right ear to your right shoulder and roll all the way back to your left shoulder and forward. We'll do 5 rolls on each side. 2 more. And reverse. Two more. Now bring your head to neutral. Bend your knees, glance down, check that you can see your big toes peeking out from under your knees. Bring your arms up. Sit as deep as you can in chair. Inhale. Exhale, fold just over so your arms are parallel to the ground. Pulling your navel in towards your spine. Inhale, come up to chair. Exhale, fold over. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And come all the way up to balance on the tips of your toes. And release, fold forward. Bend your knees. Find the length in the back of your spine. Now very gently take your left foot to the back of the mat. Place your left knee on the ground. Check that your right knee is over your right ankle. Hands come up above your head. Slight bend in your back. Exhale, place your hands on each side of your foot and lift up your back knee for a runner's lunge. Inhale, exhale. Now watch carefully because you're going to be doing a slight back or a slight step forward with your back left foot and straighten out your front leg. Take your hands to your hips, make sure that they're in line together. You're doing a triangle forward fold. If you have your blocks nearby, grab them, place your hands on them. Inhale to find a flat back. Exhale to fold over. Inhale, find a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Remove your blocks if you had them there. Place your hands on each side of your foot. Step back, plank. Then you're going to bring your weight over to your left hand. Come all the way over to a side plank on your left side. Right arm above your head. Inhale. Exhale, you're going to bring your arm over. Nice side stretch on the right side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Place your right hand on the ground. And bring your hips up into downward facing dog. Bend your knees. Maybe you can cycle them out one at a time. Keep breathing. Bring your right foot between your hands. Come all the way up to a high lunge. Take your hands behind your back, clasp them, pulling your shoulders in towards each other. The palms of your hands come into touch, and you're shooting your hands down towards the ground as you glance up. On your next inhale, you're going to release your hands. You're going to move your weight into your front right foot. Lift up your back leg into Warrior 3. Hands can come down at your sides or out overhead. 2 breaths here. Place your left foot on the ground. Tadasana, mountain pose. On your next inhale, bend your knees. Check that you can still see your big toes from under your knees. Sit back into chair pose. And we'll just do a few more rounds. Inhale, exhale, fold over, hands parallel to the ground. Inhale, chair. Exhale, arms parallel to the ground. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, come all the way up to your toes, toe balance. Hold it, hold it. Step your right foot back. High lunge. Your toes should be pulling towards the wall behind you. Knees over your ankle in the front. Bend back. Exhale, place your hands on the ground. Runner's lunge. Pull your navel in towards your spine. Don't just collapse onto your front left knee. On your next inhale, do a slight jump with your right foot. So come back flat on the ground, 45 degrees. Straighten out your front leg. Bring your hands to your hips. Check that your hips are in line together. You can fix your stance a little. Pull your feet in together if you need to. Grab your blocks from each side of you. Place them on the ground. Inhale for a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale to find a flat back. Exhale, fold. 3 more times on your own. Move the blocks out of the way. Plant your hands on the ground. Step back into plank. Bring your weight over into your right hand. Left hand comes up to the sky. Inhale. Exhale. Reach your left arm overhead. Bring your hips up for a nice side stretch. Come back to neutral. And then stretch again on the left side. Plant your both hands on the ground. Bring your hips up towards the sky, downward facing dog. Bend your knees. On your exhale, you can begin to straighten out one leg at a time. Step your left foot between your hands. Come all the way up to stand. Knee to the ground. Clasp your hands behind your back. Pull your knuckles in, your hands towards each other, your shoulders in towards each other. Glancing slightly up. Now very gently place your hands on the ground, lift up your back knee, bring your weight into your front left foot. If you can come up to balance, warrior 3. 3 breaths here. Your foot should feel like if you were standing on the wall behind you, engaging your entire leg. On your next exhale, plant both feet on the ground. Sit down into chair pose. Navel in towards your spine. Check that you can see your big toes pointing out underneath your knees. Inhale, exhale, fold over, arms parallel to the ground. Inhale, chair. Exhale, fold, arms parallel to the ground. 2 more times on your own. When you're ready, come to stand. Straighten out your legs, palms facing towards the front of the room. Close your eyes and just begin to slow your breath down. Observe if your heartbeat is up a little bit higher than usual. Observe your body, maybe if one hip feels different than the other. Or if you have a little jitter, that's good. And when you're ready, come to find a comfortable seat on the ground. Maybe if you want to sit on a block or a meditation pillow. We're just going to finish our practice with Chandra Badana. This is a beautiful breath that I like to use to slow my heart rate, if I have anxiety, if I drink too much coffee, if I'm tired and I can't fall asleep. Any of these reasons I like to use this breathing technique. So I'll show you how it's done and then we'll do it together. So bring your right hand up. You're going to take these 2 fingers and place them in your palm. You're going to take your pinky and wrap it on the inside of your ring finger. You're going to use your thumb to cover your right nostril and your ring finger to cover your left nostril. So when you inhale, you'll inhale through your left nostril and exhale through your right nostril. So we'll begin with a couple breaths. I'll just show you how to do it really quick. So I'd place my thumb on my right nostril, inhale through my left, hold, cover my left nostril with my ring finger and exhale through my right nostril, and hold. Inhale through left, hold, exhale through right, hold. Okay? So get your mudra ready. These 2 fingers in at your palm, pinky on the inside of your ring finger. Move the mic out of the way a little. Close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale. Exhale. Place your thumb on your right nostril. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Hold. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Hold. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale through your right. Hold. Inhale through your left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Hold. Go ahead and continue to cycle that on your own. Three more. Inhale through left. Hold. Exhale through right. Hold. Inhale through left. Hold. Exhale through right. Hold. Inhale left. Hold. Exhale right. Bring your hand to your leg. Inhale. Exhale completely. Inhale. Dip your chin, engage your abs. Hold. And release all the way. Now bring your hands to heart center in prayer and just pull your hands away from each other a little bit, as if you're generating this energy ball between your hands at your heart center. Can you feel the fuzzy energy between those hands? Now pull your hands a little bit further away. The energy ball is getting larger. Keep breathing. a little bit larger. And now visualize the ball is growing to surround your entire body. And place your hands on your legs, palms up. If you notice that your mind is wandering, just bring it back to your breath. We'll be here for a moment while we absorb all of that energy into our bodies. When you're ready, you can begin to blink open your eyes to take in one object right in front of you. And when you're ready, you can take in the remainder of the room. Bring your palms to touch at heart center. Thank you so much for joining me in my practice and for allowing me to be a part of yours. Namaste. This breathing technique is called Chandra Badana. It's similar to alternate nostril breathing, except you are stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. Alternate nostril breathing, which you guys will actually get tomorrow, is really great for balancing your yin and your yang energy, your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. But Chandra Badana, especially I hear some of you guys might be going through, things in life as well as just having anxiety in general. And I hope that this breathing technique will help you with that. Okay, so I guess quote that I want you guys to remember is range is of the ego, form is of the soul. So listen to your bodies. They have an innate intelligence to tell you what is wrong. And thank you guys so much for showing up and for prioritizing your healing. I'm so excited. And also, if you have any questions, anything that I didn't get to today, please ask. We'll use these live calls for that so that I can answer your questions, as well as learning new things, meeting new people. On the 9th of May, we have my dearest friend Cassidy, who is in this group, teaching us some self-massage techniques. She is a beautiful massage therapist. So put that in your calendar, show up for her. And what else? I don't think there's anything else. Well, thank you guys so much.